All right. Hey, here talking about the movie for October 4th. It was The Strangers, home invasion horror type movie. Honestly, first thing I want to say, just to get it out the way, the main actress in the movie, Liv Tyler. It was kind of distracting with her. She looks like a mix of like a bunch of different actresses to me. In some shots, she looked almost like Anne Hathaway. I was, a bit taken back, but then maybe a little bit like Jennifer Gardner. Sort of weird, but yeah, she's just one of those like look-alike actresses to me. Um, Again, just something funny I was thinking about the whole time. But anyways, um, for me personally, I feel a movie like this should work for me and the things that I kind of find scary. Uh, but overall, I'd say I don't really like it. I guess I'll start with more of the positives because there are a lot of positives. Um, I like, again, the fact that it's home invasion. I feel like a lot of good horror can come from that. Because in your home you're supposed to feel safe, but to have that, safe space invaded, it does like add like a really strong core for, like horror to be explored there. And again, I feel like it really does kind of capture that very well. You have this trio of home invaders just, I mean, doing as they please, basically. And that is scary, and there is a sense of isolation that sort of comes with that, and helplessness that the main characters feel. And I feel like it's easy to relate to that in a way. Home invasion probably quite random for, or like low chance of happening for most people, but still, the fear is real, and it's done quite well for the most part in the movie, and I appreciate that. The other thing that I really like is the ending to the movie. Um, Not them driving away and stuff like that, but I guess the conclusion for our main character. Spoilers, but this movie's been out for a long time. Um, but it just shows, I guess, the psychology behind these killers. They are true, psychopaths or sociopaths. I guess either or. Like they have these like antisocial sort of against societal norm type behaviors, and their motivation for this killing is simple. Like they literally do just say, after being asked by the main characters, like, oh, why are you doing this? It's like, well, like you were home, you were just a target at the end of the day. It's as simple as that for people like this, and that is horrifying. Um, if you're willing to think about it and look into it, I think personally, but you might find the horror from this movie a bit different from me. You might just be scared of the fact that these characters kind of like haunt around and mess with our main characters. But then I guess that kind of adds to this like psychopathy to them. Like they are just there to mess with them purely because they happen to be there. It's like a chance meeting sort of thing, and they just took advantage of it because they could, and that's scary to me. But I mean, aside from that, it's just something about the movie, either like the pacing or you're set up for like proper scares. Again, this is one of those movies where you're like kind of tracking the main character, and oh, there's something like kind of creepy going on in the background. That stuff to me, I mean, it's fine, but it's just sort of how it's done. And in this movie, I don't really like it because it almost portrays these strangers as more what's the word? More like kind of paranormal entities, like larger than life type entities. Um, which again, kind of weird because at the end of the day, they're just people. Like, why are people, having this like weird ability to just like haunt, not making a step? And I mean, I guess people could develop a skill like that, but I don't know. It just seems a bit unrealistic at times, or like the, our protagonists that we're following are just, too stupid. to be a bit more aware. But again, like the horror in a situation like that, you're probably not too focused on the small things. You're focused on what's in front of you, which I mean, fair enough. But it's for me, it's just one of those movies where you like just watch it and you're like yelling at the TV the whole time, kind of thing. So that's a reason why it doesn't work for me. And I briefly mentioned just characters making like dumb decisions or whatever, and I mean it's true. Like the whole movie, the main characters are just like a bit incompetent, um, and that's kind of annoying as well. Because I mean, again, going back to what I said, I'm just watching the movie or watching it with my sister, and like we're just talking. It's like, oh, like why would you do this? Why not do this? Like why would you try to hide there? Just like small things. It's one of those movies that you just kind of sit and talk over. And I mean, it's very easy to talk over because another thing too, it's very mumblecore-ish. Lots of like low speaking, and I mean, you could say it's like, well, they want to keep quiet. They don't want the strangers to hear them. But I mean, even at the start of the movie, very slow opening. Nothing really happens until about 30 minutes in because they're trying to get you introduced to the relationship of the two protagonists of the movie. And the entire time they just like whisper talk the whole movie. And especially in that 30 minutes, it makes it drag a lot. So that's a downside for me personally. But like I said, they're being like invaded, so it makes sense that they would whisper and stuff. But I mean, throughout the whole movie, and like even when it's not necessary, and then I feel like that's sort of just like a way, just like a mechanic, like in the writing or like with the acting, to where they can like have this quieter moment, and then contrast it with the hysterical screaming of like of the main characters, either the woman or the guy, which I guess could work too, quite honestly. And I mean, I guess it works in its function, but it's not very effective to me. Uh, and then I guess moving on like to the stranger stuff, um, it's a weird thing because it's always a mask. It's always a mask. Like someone's always trying to make the iconic mask. Uh, and I mean, for me, it's just not that horrifying, not that scary. And then another thing too, very small thing. They have a record player in the house because it was supposed to be like a romantic evening, and it's another kind of horror trope too, where it's like old technology is scary. Old technology is supposed to be scary. So there's like multiple times where like the record player would just start playing by itself, or it's like started and stopped by one of the strangers just like fucking with it. Um, which I mean, again, like I said, just like kind of tropey and just like a bit annoying because now I'm thinking about that too much instead of what's happening. A small funny bit too. What's his name? Always Sunny. Dennis shows up in the in the movie. Uh, I know, like Always Sunny has been running for a long time. I don't know if it was running concurrently when this movie came out, but sort of funny having him in the movie. Yeah, again, just another thing that kind of brought me out of it because I'm like, oh yeah, that's Dennis, and he's just in the movie to get killed. It's like, well, we need like some stuff to happen in this movie. Let's just like add a character and get rid of him. Which again, all right. Like that's the thing sometimes with horror movies, especially if they feel like they're moving too slow. They'll sort of just like bring in a character to kill for like shock value, or well, I mean, shock value, I guess, is the best way to put it. I was gonna say just to like subvert expectations, but I guess that also falls under shock. It's just meant to sort of like keep you invested. It's like, oh, what up? But yeah, so again, just stuff like that. Again, tropey. Uh, the introduction of a character just to get rid of him, and then obviously it's weird because like it adds to that paranormal thing I was talking about with these strangers. It's like they're so quick to take advantage of the situations. Like after he kills them, like they walk like a little after, and like the window just says killer on it. It's like, dude, it's that just happened. You had like enough time to like write that down for him. All right. And yeah, man, I just keep thinking about the choices the characters make. It's just always the wrong choice. And again, just slow reaction. And like I've tried defending it, saying that when you're scared, you're fight or flight a lot of the time. And for them, they're just like indecisive. Like when you're in a situation like that, it is pure, okay, I'm gonna like stand my ground, do this, or I'm just gonna try to run away. The main characters do neither a lot of the time. um, Again, I guess just to get you in that mindset of like how much fear is like overtaking them. But I don't know, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. I feel like people are a bit more survivally inclined. I don't know, or I guess like have like a better capacity to defend themselves and survive if needed. And that's usually what I like in my horror. I like having like a competent protagonist, not necessarily like, oh, like a badass, they can do anything, but somebody who can take the situation for what it is and actually do things. You know, I think it's one thing to make your characters like entirely hopeless or make the situation seem entirely hopeless, which is kind of what this movie sort of does. Like every decision they make instantly gets foiled by the strangers. And sure, that can add for some like hopelessness in the film, but I mean, like the decisions and the executions of what's going on and like what the main characters are doing just kind of make you root against them sometimes. Because they're only ever doing and they're not reacting. Like, example, like with the car thing, it's like, well, let's just try to get to the car and leave. And then the strangers just like crash into their car and like, immobilize it. And like after that happens, it's like, they take the hit and then they run back inside. It's like, so you had no plan B, you just had, that flight instinct, and the instant, like instantly it gets foiled and like you just run away. All right. But that's what I mean when I say incompetence. It is just pure incompetence a lot of the time, and that gets annoying, especially when it happens over and over and over and over and over. Well, you get the point. It literally happens every single time, and it's a bit annoying. Again, for me personally, I feel like some people would like this movie, and then I start thinking about other type home invasion movies, at least where there's like a twist in it. Take like Hush, for example. Home invasion, but the protagonist of that movie is deaf, and I feel like there's a bit more to play with in that regard. And you can make the horror a bit more terrifying. Again, already because it's home invasion, and again, I feel like that's a good enough setup for a lot of horror. Um, but then kind of having like a small twist on it, like I said, with the protagonist in Hush being deaf, it would make a lot more sense that the you're sort of figuring out what the killer is like trying to get away with. He's a bit more sneaky, and that makes sense. But I mean, in something like The Strangers, your protagonist can hear, they can, they're a bit more capable in that regard, and they just like don't ever hear what's going on around them. Sometimes they don't really react a lot of the time. It's bizarre. And again, like the main character in Hush, a lot more competent, like way more competent. But you give the excuse that, oh well, she's been living as a deaf person for a long time, so she has to be hyper aware, which fair enough. But at the same time, like, and then I guess even what like The Purge, the first one at the very least, right? That's also home invasion. Just from memory, I haven't seen The Purge in a long time, but I do remember that aspect of it. And again, like, I feel like the first Purge, okay, um, like horror invasion or home invasion stuff, as like a catalyst for your horror movie, I think is like perfectly good, and I think in that movie it's well executed. Um, yeah, so I guess obviously, personally, wouldn't recommend The Strangers. A bit slow. Um, I mean, I don't know. Unless you had a group or at least one other person that you're watching it with, you can just kind of talk about it while you're watching it. It's not bad for background. And again, like there's a few interesting things to pick apart, but the whole just doesn't work for me. Um, but yeah, I guess that's it for October 4th. But I don't know, because I feel like this one's a bit decisive. I feel like people kind of like this movie, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't know. Tell me what y'all think. I feel like I've never even said that before. I've been doing this for a few days now. But tell me what y'all think, quite honestly, because I feel like it would be just nice to have, like, some type of interaction with some of these movies. I feel like obviously, I feel like what I'm saying is true, or to me at least. But it'd be nice to just have different opinions to like bounce off of. Maybe tell me like what you like specifically in these movies, or what you dislike. If you agree with some of the stuff I'm saying, or if you feel like I'm just completely off base. Because I mean, like sometimes I am, but I just need people to like set me straight, make me like see the other perspective. Uh, but yeah, I guess that's it for today. Take care.